Welcome to a quick overview of how to use the News and Events feature to post news articles and upcoming events to your Plan Member Financial Center website. First, I'll show you how to add news articles, and then I'll cover how to add events and webinars. So let's get started adding a news posting to your website. First, log into Plan Member Partners and then scroll down on the left-hand navigation bar until you see the heading Administrative Tools and Resources. Beneath Website Systems Administration, click News and Events. This will bring you to the main page where you can delve into either news or events. You'll also notice on the upper right in the persistent navigation that the location section is an additional option, but more on that later. First, to add a news article, click News. On the main news screen, you'll see two sections. The top is a list of the articles that you or other permitted individuals in your financial center have added to your site. You can see the title of the article, the summary, the author, the compliance status, published status, the date range that the article is to appear live on your site, and finally, any actions you can take regarding that posting. In the lower section, titled News Published from Plan Member Corporate, you can see the list of articles that we've posted on your behalf. In case your financial center doesn't post articles very often, Plan Member will periodically publish generally applicable articles to ensure the news section of your site stays relevant and up to date. So let's add a news article. Click the blue Add News button. This is the main editing screen of your news article. I'll quickly walk you through each of these fields. First is title. This is the title of your article, and it will appear both on the main news page where all of the articles can be seen and also on the page dedicated to that article. Second is summary. This is a short sentence or two that the reader sees that might entice them to click to read the full article. And the summary only appears on the main news page. If you are unsure what to type here, start with the first sentence of the article, so long as it gives a good indication of the contents of the article. Third is the news date. This is the date of the article itself, which may be different than the day you'd like to publish the article to your website. Consider the scenario where you receive permission to reprint a local press release about your office from the local newspaper to your website. You probably found out about the article after it was published. Thus, when you add the article to your website, you would want to backdate it to the original publication date. Beneath the news date are the show on and hide on dates. These dates are the publish and expiry dates for your article. If you'd like your article to show up on your site as soon as possible, choose the show date to be today. If you'd like the article to expire at a certain date, set that as well. The main editing section is to the right. Here you can type or cut and paste the contents of your article. Once you have entered the contents of your article, you can choose whether or not to publish the article to your site after it's been approved by compliance. Hit save to keep a copy of your draft internally. Once you'll do this, you'll see several other options become available. First is preview. Clicking this button will show you, in an internet browser tab, what your article would look like should it be approved by compliance. Using this feature along with the internal save feature is important. Use the Save and Preview buttons as much as you need to while editing your article. Beneath these options is the Published Status toggle. This, in conjunction with the Compliance Review status and the Show On, Hide On dates, will determine whether your article can be seen on your site or not. Assuming you set the Show On date to today and the Hide On date far in the future, and also that you choose to publish the article, it will mean that once compliance approves the post, it will appear live immediately after the compliance review is completed. It is important to note that while an article is in compliance review, you do have the option to change the article's published status. Let's suppose that in the scenario I just described, I realize that the article is no longer applicable to me, and I do not want it published once compliance reviews it. In this situation, I can go back in to edit the article and toggle the published status to no. While the compliance review decision is superior to the published status, the published status is independent of the compliance review and can be changed at any time. Once your article is perfectly formatted and appears as you like it online, you're ready to submit it to compliance review. This step should be taken carefully, though, as once you submit the article to compliance, you're locked out from further edits unless compliance rejects the article. Once approved, an article cannot be currently edited again and then resubmitted. It must be recreated. You also have the option to delete an article. This step should only be taken if the article should never be published online. If an article could potentially be relevant at another time, or if you think you'd want to reference the content within it at some point, choose to unpublish it rather than delete it. That will save it within Partners so you can reference the content later. Once your article is approved by compliance, you can see the status change on the main news page along with its published status. If an article gets rejected by compliance, notes will be available within the main editing screen, alerting you of the changes that need to be made in order for compliance to approve it. Now let's move on to adding an event. From the main page, or the persistent navigation, click the Events button. Plan Member will not add events for you, so if there are no upcoming events to show, none will appear on your site. If there are events posted to your site, they will appear with the nearest event at the top and the farthest out event at the bottom. Let's start by adding a physical event, and then I'll cover how to add a webinar or other digital event. Click Add Event to get to the main events editing page. I'll quickly walk you through each of the fields. First is title. This is the title of the event, and it will appear both on the main events page where all of the listings can be seen, and also on the news and events landing page on the right-hand sidebar. Second is summary. This is a short sentence or two of what the reader sees that might entice them to read more. Next is the event date. Be sure that your event is far enough in advance to give compliance enough time to review it. After that are the show on and hide on dates. You'll want to show your event on your site far enough in advance that your potential attendees will have enough time to see it and schedule it accordingly. Similarly, you might want to show your event for the day or so following the event's conclusion so your audience knows when it was. Event start time and end time are the next two fields. On the right-hand column, add the logistical details and explanation of your event. Also, if you prefer respondents to call in an RSVP, be sure to include that information in the event description area. Beneath the event description is the RSVP include feature. This will include an email reply RSVP that will be sent to your financial center's general email box that is used throughout the site. If you prefer to use a different method or email address for an RSVP, choose not to include the RSVP button and instead type those instructions within the event description. Beneath this is a toggle for whether the event is online. In this example, it is not, so I will leave the toggle at no. Next, we choose the event location from the drop-down menu. If you have not used this location before, it won't be available from the drop-down menu. So let's select Add a new location. Within the window, enter the location details. Know that Google will attempt to map your location and embed the map within the event window. If Google cannot decipher your location, it will default to embed a map of the entire planet, so be sure to preview your event to ensure that this doesn't happen. Lastly, choose to publish your event if you like. The Publish option within the Events Editor works the same as it does within the News Editor. Finally, hit Save to keep a copy of the draft. Previewing the event will show you what it would look like should compliance approve it. Once the event is ready to send to compliance, you can select that option. This step should be taken carefully though, as once you submit the event to compliance, you are locked out from further edits unless compliance rejects the submission. Once approved, an event cannot be currently edited again and resubmitted. It must be recreated. You also have the option to delete an event. This step should only be taken if the event should never be published online. If an event could potentially be relevant at another time, or if you think you'd want to reference the content of that event at some point, choose to unpublish it rather than delete it. This will save it within Partners for your reference later. Once your event is approved by compliance, you can see the status change on the main events page along with its published status. If an event ever gets rejected by compliance, notes will be available within the main editing screen alerting you of the changes that need to be made in order for compliance to approve it. Okay, so let's take a look at how to create an online event. All of the fields are the same as creating a physical event, except when you get to the event location section. Here, switch the online event toggle to yes. This will change a few of the fields that you will need to fill out. The event location drop-down menu is replaced with the online event URL and a field for any special instructions your event may have. These can be things like log in as a guest or please mute your phone line. Once you enter the URL for your webinar conference room, you are able to test it using a link provided above the field. Also be sure to add the full URL, including the HTTP or HTTPS. When you preview an online event, you will also see that the embedded map has been replaced with our webinar icon to alert potential attendees of the event format. Back on the main editing screen, you can now submit your online event to compliance, just as I demonstrated before with a physical event. Before we conclude, it is important to note that events should be posted far enough in advance to provide your potential attendees enough time to plan for your event and Plan Member's compliance department enough time to conduct a proper review. If you have further questions about the News and Events feature, please contact the Digital Marketing Department. That concludes our overview of the News and Events feature, and we thank you for taking the time to view this video.